Howdy, welcome back. This is the Make It Pretty video. This is where we are showing you how we rebuilt the duplex that we bought, my fiance and I. One we're going to live in, one we're going to rent out. And we're starting out here on the rental side by refinishing this banister. It's a wooden banister that is really heavy. It looks visually really heavy, so we decided to do a whitewash, and it's kind of like a farmhouse vibe, which is not exactly the minimalist modern vibe that we went with for the rest of the house, but it was kind of the best thing we could do with this piece of permanent furniture finish. And Amanda did a pretty good job of using an enamel-based paint, a water-based enamel paint rather, the trim paint and the door paint that we're using for the property to do that. Jumping on over to our side, this is the recently demoed kitchen. Took up the tile floor and the carpet. We got some discoloration here on the floor. I don't know if it's just penetrated mold or water stains. There's definitely mold on the wall. I'm thinking it'll clean out. We're gonna try and wash it, but I might just have to replace this whole sheet of drywall from wall to wall. And maybe like what was under the sink, replace that subfloor. We'll see. We did not, in fact, end up replacing any of that subfloor. It was, in fact, just water stains and not mold, though we did clean it up with some borax. Amanda did. My plumber removed those copper in lines that you saw in the previous clip, which made it easier for me to remove the drywall, and then also when I put the cabinets in here, it made it easier to install that sink-based cabinet. So just cleaning up the drywall here in this kitchen, that was definitely mold on that drywall, and we actually had leftover drywall from a previous contractor that had done some work for the seller of this property. He let me keep the drywall that was on site after he was done with it because he didn't want to have to bother moving it. And I was like, sure, I will take it. I'm sure I'll need it. And I did. And I used exactly what he left me with a little bit to spare on all of the drywall repairs. I'm going to do some repairs in the bathroom here in the next clip sequence, but just kind of solving this puzzle, cutting around the wires coming out here for the range. That's the range power supply that I'm cutting a hole out for, and then I have to cut around those drain pipes where the sink goes in order to fit that in there. It doesn't have to be super perfect because all this is going to be behind cabinets and the countertop and then the backsplash that we'll put in. But I do want it to be as flat as possible because I want my installation of those to go smoothly. Pun intended. Anyway, we are in the bathroom now, the main bath of our side. That kitchen drywall repair was also in our kitchen. Just cutting around my pipes for my plumbing. Gonna get a new toilet in this bathroom, which is exciting. I have a fresh throne for my precious tushy. I'll just clean up these seams, kind of cut back and bevel the edges so that I can get some mud in there and get everything nice and smooth. This is a cheap way to repair drywall holes that aren't super big, but they're big enough to where you can't just spackle over them. It's something you can use when you're in my scenario, which is repairing drywall that's gonna be behind cabinets. I technically don't even have to repair this drywall because there's gonna be cabinets going right over the top, but this is a little happy medium for me to have a flat surface and still be economical and save time. And it's with this great stuff. It's just spray foam. Shake it up really well. See this hole? There's still some crumbly stuff behind that, which I can kind of use to let this grab on. Just gonna fill it up. We'll let that expand and cure, and then we'll come back and we'll razor it off. Just gonna take this knife Kind of bend it so it's flat against the wall. Now I'm just gonna mud over that. Drywall repair is not the most fun part of the renovation process, but I will say that I do enjoy mudding. And I'm particularly motivated to do a good job mudding because my least favorite thing in the entire world to do is sand. I hate sanding. Sanding sucks. I don't want to pay somebody else to sand, so I'll do it myself, but damn it, I hate it. It hurts my shoulders. It hurts my elbows. I am a bitch. Here we are doing some minor repairs of the holes left behind by the previous curtains. We're probably going to be putting hardware right back where this was, but you got to start fresh. Am I right? We got to start over with a smooth slate. We're going through the trouble of painting this whole place, so I want there to be no walls and as little blemishes as possible. I'm probably a little bit too anal when it comes to my drywall repair process, but I'm just trying to do my due diligence. Here you are seeing what's left from that custom drywall headboard in the main bedroom of the rental side. I had to do several layers of mudding to kind of feather out that edge that was torn on that drywall. I think I ended up doing like 3 passes of mud to get it completely smooth to my satisfaction to look like it was never there, and I think I achieved that. Once all that mud was dry, I could come back and lightly sand it so it was smooth. Yup, we're sanding. I love it! Moving on from that deliciously entertaining content, we are working on the doors. We're keeping the doors, but we're going to give them a fresh look. We're going to sand them up, prime them, remove the hardware, and replace them with some brand new knobs, brand new hinges. We're doing this all throughout on both units. It's a pretty easy way to refresh without spending that much more money and time. They'll look like pretty much new doors and will fit the modern aesthetic. I had to go through and kind of do some patchwork. Some of them had holes in them from the door stops or just people, I don't know, doing whatever they're doing, just beating on doors, slamming them, yelling at their loved ones. I don't know. They needed repairs nonetheless, and for that I used this stuff called Bondo wood filler, 2-part epoxy. It's pretty sandable, and you see me adding the hardener there to it. The goal is to mix it to where the color changes just ever so slightly, and that should give you a good work time to where you don't have to rush it, but it dries, within 30 minutes or so you can sand it and repair stuff pretty quickly, and it's pretty durable too.
Whoa, dude, what are you doing?
No, caulking with Alex Flex caulk and a really shitty caulk gun that doesn't have a release button. So when I'm done, I have to be like, whew. Could have been a nightmare. Once all my patchwork was done, I began prepping for paint. I was going to be spray priming the entire property, so I had to tape edges and drop plastic over this banister and on all my windows and over all the appliances. And all of that prep probably took me a day of labor, just taping shit up. All right, y'all, I think we are finally ready to paint. I'm going to be using my Graco Paint Sprayer, this size of a sprayer is kind of perfect for this size project. I'm basically going to be PVA priming the entire unit all in one go. I'm gonna do the ceilings and I'm gonna do the walls with plastic and tape so that I can just spray away. The reason I'm doing this is because I did so much drywall patching, as you can kind of see behind me. It's like that in every room. I probably didn't need to get that nitpicky with the spackling and the mudding, but I really wanted it to look fresh and as new as possible. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for a rental. And it's just time to do it. So I'm using a PVA primer, which is specifically for raw drywall. And I really only have a couple spots where there is raw drywall. Whew, that's hard to say. But there's so much spackling and mud that I needed to just use that, and it's also going to kind of seal in any odors and make the paint last a little bit longer when I actually go to paint the walls. I'm just going to leave the ceilings that primer white, and that should be good enough. Originally, I wanted to take the popcorn ceiling down. I'm not sure if I talked about this before, but I did get it tested for only 2% white asbestos, which is like maybe not the most dangerous asbestos and definitely not the most dangerous amount, but I just didn't want to mess with it. It's not worth it as much as I would want it to be modern and whatever. I'm just gonna paint it. This is my property and I don't have to worry about future owners really, because I'm doing this as a buy and hold strategy, and I'm hoping to keep this in my portfolio for as long as it's making sense cash flow wise. So just gonna paint the popcorn ceiling. Just painting over it is gonna save me a lot of time. I don't have to scrape off the existing ceiling. I think it already has paint on it anyway, so that would have been a bitch to sand all of that off and patch the ceilings and sand all of that. So we're just doing a whole prime, and it begins now. But first, I need to shave my face, because when I wear a respirator, I want it to have a nice seal on my skin, and this scruff is gonna make that a little tricky. So I'm gonna shave. We're gonna set up my Graco sprayer with my extended tip, and we're gonna get to work. Here we are with our 5-gallon bucket of PVA drywall primer. You gotta prime the sprayer. You gotta prime the sprayer with your primer. Double prime that bitch. I've used this sprayer dozens of times, but it seems like every time I use it, I have to look at the instructions, and I should probably know how to do it by now, and I probably do, but anyway, we are rocking and rolling, ready to spray, starting with the ceiling, sealing that asbestos in with the primer, just sealing it up, giving it a fresh look, covering up any little stains for the most part. Then we move on to the walls. This goes pretty quickly because the sprayer just covers a lot of ground. It's way faster than the roller, but you do spend a lot of time in prep work, so there's a trade-off there. I will say it's nice to just cover so much ground in a little bit of time. We're painting this banister because it's actually not the same kind of wood as what Amanda whitewashed. It's just building lumber, just 2x4s and 4x4. Here we are upstairs in the kitchen. This is all the rental side still, by the way. And we're painting the kitchen. I'm on a mission to get through this painting process so that I can install cabinets, and I have my dad coming up on this weekend. I'm painting it during the week, and my dad is coming up to help install the cabinets. So I gotta get it done before then. At least the kitchen needs to be painted. This is the main bedroom in the rental side. Back in the living room. And now we are mixing up the wall paint for the rental side. I'm doing that by, I went to a paint discount store and just picked up 4 5-gallon buckets so that I could paint both units. And I basically chose 2 off-white colors that would look good together, and I'm going to combine them to make 2 gallons of the same color. So my process is I have 3 5 gallons. 2 of them are full with 2 different color paints. 1 is empty. I'm going to pour half of the different color paints into the empty bucket, and then I'll combine the other 2 halves into one of the other buckets that had the paint in it and just mix them back and forth until finally I have two 5-gallon buckets that are a new mixed color. This one ended up being kind of like a rosy off-white, just like a really soft tint of a warm kind of reddish color. It's hard to tell in this shot, but in person and maybe in the after shots you can really see that it dries kind of a warm, it's like a taupe almost, and I actually quite liked it. I don't know if you noticed, but I cut in first, and I almost do it wall by wall. I'll cut in and then paint with a roller on a wall, and that just keeps the coat really nice and even and seamless. You don't have to do it that way, but you should at least cut in first. I hate when people just start rolling because they want to see that progress. I get it, but you got to cut in first, folks. It just makes the whole process a lot smoother, and your finish is going to come out way better because you can cover up a lot of the brush strokes with your roller. I actually really love painting. We're actually back priming on our side in this clip. I'm going out of order with the whole renovation, but I'm just keeping it process by process. That's how I'm organizing this footage, so there you go. It's gonna end up being a lighter version of that. Let's mix it up. Let's stir it up, mum. Okay. Like I said, we're back on our side, and this is the painting process. We got it all primed. I love the way that this color turned out for our side. It ended up being like a charming yellow, just really soft and warm. So we're cutting in. This is the kitchen on our side, getting ready for the cabinets. Just a couple weeks later, both my parents came up to help me install those cabinets. So we're cutting in. All of this will be behind the cabinets, so I don't have to be as careful as I'm being right now, but I don't know, I'm just doing it out of principle. Confidently, quickly, cutting in that line. Painting is my favorite part of the renovation process. I literally love the physical act of spreading paint on the wall with a brush, whether it's murals or just a blank wall. I love it all. Getting that lint off with tape. This is a microfiber roller sleeve. I like using these because they get a lot of paint in them. They hold it really well. It leaves a nice texture, and they're easy to clean compared to your standard nap rolling sleeve. So finishing up here, it's looking nice. We're over here on the rental side, and for the most part, we're done with painting. We did trim. We made these stairs look gorgeous. Painted that banister with some enamel paint. Probably talk about that in the voiceover. So we're gonna move on. Today we are redoing the basement bathroom vanity. We're gonna tape off the drywall where I painted the fresh paint with some delicate paint. Then we're gonna caulk and paint, clean it up. And for the counter, I'm gonna do a concrete skim coating. Let's get started. It's about 50-50, probably a little less than 50-50, water and the mix. It's a dry mix powder. It's called Henry something something. Anyway, let's give it a go. I didn't really record much of this process, unfortunately, but I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with this Henry feather finish. It probably was more work than it was worth. I did about 3 or 4 layers, about an 1/8 inch thick each. And so I got a pretty thick coat on there. It looks really nice, and I don't regret it, but it just took more time. We put a waterproof sealer on it. I probably did 3 or 4 layers of that, and I think it's got a pretty good seal on it. I'll link these products in the description. Here we are putting some Tyvek suits on because we're going to cut the rug, I guess, but no, really the ceiling, the asbestos-laden popcorn ceiling, because we're going to put some disc lights. We're going to put about 4 disc lights in the ceiling here, and that's going to really transform this space and make it seem a lot bigger, and I'm really excited for that. So here we are, trying as best as we can to get rid of this asbestos. That's why we're suited up and why Amanda is holding that vacuum there, just to kind of reduce the amount of dust that we're kicking around. Just trying to play it safe, folks. Cutting through with a multi-tool, and we're saving the pieces so that we can just replace them in the channel after all the electric work is done. And it worked out pretty well. Check it out. Bright as fuck, boy. It's a new room, and you bet they're dimmable. Ooh, are you serious? Whoa.
Let's check this out. Night lights! You didn't even know, you didn't even know. Surprise! Classy as fuck.
Here's the result, or kind of halfway through the result of my patch job. I did a couple different products. I tried a spray version of the popcorn ceiling patch, but then I also did this bucket version. I thinned it out a little bit with water, and first coat I rolled it on, and that didn't really work super well. I ended up coming back again on the next couple layers with a brush and just kind of dabbing it on, and that seemed to give it more of a texture. It was just kind of not really matching the original texture. You gotta pretty much use a hopper and spray. I tried to use the aerosol spray products, and those were garbage. Both of them didn't really work hardly at all. They're just really inconsistent sprays. Would not recommend. Here we are back on the rental side. Oh, we were on the rental side already, but we're back on the kitchen of the rental side, installing those cabinets. These are all Lowe's cabinets. They're Lowe's Project Source. It's kind of their baseline prefab cabinet. It's kind of like their mid-grade. I think they have a cheaper version, but this is their mid-grade pre-built, pre-painted kitchen cabinets. Altogether, since we had to do two sides, it was pretty expensive. I forgot what the total was of each side. I want to say it was around $2,000, maybe a little bit more per kitchen, which is actually pretty cheap for a full kitchen remodel. And that's why we went with these. And we wanted them to be able to be locally sourced and just get them when we needed them too. So that was the reason we did the Lowe's cabinets. And, you know, they could be better quality, but for just having ones that you could just pick up in the store and put up on the wall on the same day, I'm not complaining at all. They're certainly not custom Matt Schmitz makes kitchen cabinets, I will say that, but maybe in a future home. So this is what the cabinets look like after they were installed. On our side, which is this, we did the two-tone. And we got the granite countertops, which look really nice. Use the local company for that. And then we did a Backsplash, which we just used this ready mix adhesive and a 1/8" trowel. Actually, I think it was a 1/4" trowel, which is probably too big for these tiles. Probably should have done an 1/8" trowel, but it ended up being okay. It was just like a little messier than it could have been. And we're just using basic subway tiles that we got at the Habitat Restore. I'm pretty sure we got all of the tile we needed for both units for around $50. I'm gonna do a financial video about this whole renovation process, I believe, in the future at some point. And stay tuned for that. You know, if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. This is mostly a mural channel. I mostly have my art projects on here. So this series of this renovation is kind of random, but it's relevant, I guess, to my life personally. And really this channel is more so about me and my life and my journey as an artist, yes, but also my living. And that's what this is. I'm building this to live in, to make passive income down the line, which will support my art. So it's all part of the process, and we're just here for it. And I appreciate you watching. So stay tuned for those financials and more explanation. I'm sure I'm going to talk about this process and this project way more in depth in the future. So stick around for that if you're interested. If not, just enjoy this mushing of grout into tile. So, moving on to the subfloors. I guess we're preparing to do the LVP, but before that, Amanda and I are just writing some messages to ourselves. And it's kind of just to set some energy. This was like a meditative process to go through and write little messages to manifest peaceful living in our new home. This is our first home purchase, so we wanted it to be special. It is special for us. Here we are, laying the LVP. This is luxury vinyl plank flooring. It's, not as classy as hardwood, but it is very durable and it's very easy to install. I shouldn't say it's very easy. This was probably the most physically demanding part of the entire renovation process. But compared to actual hardwood flooring, it's definitely more straightforward. I'll say that. So the product we're using is Life Proof. The color is Dusk Cherry. And this is the 22 mil thickness. That's the wear layer. And that's probably the second thickest product that they offer, which basically just means that it's more durable. I should be able to refinish it at some point in the future if needed. So it's just future proof. It's a little bit more expensive than the 6 mil or 12 mil thickness. But I'm doing this for longevity. I only want to do this once for the next couple decades, and I think it should last quite a while. One of the drawbacks of the thicker wear layer was that I couldn't really score it with a utility knife and snap it like you can with some of the thinner product. And so I had to use a chop saw and a jigsaw to cut all my custom cuts for this LVP. I think it took me 7 full days of working on this floor for each unit. So the flooring was a significant part of the renovation process, and the same goes for the cost. I think we spent like $6,000 on all the LVP. We bought it all at once and we got kind of a bulk pallet discount. I wish I would have shown you a closer look of how these planks fit into each other, but I guess this isn't really a super educational video. It's more documentation of our process and our story, and maybe the next renovation project I do, I can go a little bit more in depth, but that's not even really what this channel's about anyway, so fuck it. This part was tricky. Laying this room was pretty smooth. Navigated this closet pretty well because I'm basically starting from this wall, working through all this, which this is nice to shoot through here because this stretch is what, 3 rows? Just get to pass through, but this long wall, having to start with these little 1.25 inch strips, not ideal. And it took me forever to get this whole back row, and then navigating around this and feeding into here, and these being spaced the same as these. Dicey, but we made it work. And look at that. I'm proud of that. I wish I would have showed you the process, but it took me a while. Continuamos. It's going to be great when you see all these planks filling up this room. You'll get to see the final shot with the whole room full of planks from start to finish. Just kidding. We're switching to trim. Got all this pre-primed trim. All I gotta do is paint it with my water-based enamel trim paint. These are just really nice minimalist 5-inch baseboards, and I started doing 45-degree miters in the corner, but eventually I just did butt joints because there's no profile to cope, and that made it a lot easier and faster, and actually the seams were smaller with the butt joints. Trimming out each unit probably took about 5 days each, and then I had to come through and fill all the holes from the nails that I put in all my baseboards and trim the casings around the doors. And then after that I had to go back through and kind of touch up paint on all those holes just so it matched a little bit better and covered up any dirt that I put on there with my fingers. And by this point in the renovation process, I was just super tired. I mean, I had been working for about 3 months and was just really physically taxed and mentally burnt out, to be honest. But the trim process was really good because it buttoned everything up and tied the floors together really nicely. And that about wraps it up for this renovation video. Unfortunately, that's about all I got for the documentation. And if you want to see the final results, you're just going to have to wait till the next video when we do the after reveal. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.